Hello, this is a Ask Devin Nash video where people ask me questions and I answer them on my Discord, discord.gg/Devin. And for people that have no idea what's going on, my name is Devin Nash. I run a marketing agency on new media, so Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, stuff like that. And I think about marketing issues. And formerly I was in esports in the gaming industry. Still am. Still play a lot of video games. Lately, a lot of multiverses. So I'm going to answer all sorts of different kinds of questions. And these are starting from about a year ago. So we have quite a bit to catch up on. Probably at the point where we actually do catch up, I will live stream answers. But for now, we're going to do video and get people to answer. I'm going to answer these questions. Okay? All right, let's begin. Here we go. On 9/20, I call all these white names, just means that like these people are no longer in the server. They will never hear these answers, but they'll benefit somebody. So, and it also kind of makes me think about things, which is like one of the main reasons I wanted to actually have this channel. About esports, I was wondering, when does a game become an esport and how? When is enough money? So I think it's really simple. I think that when a game becomes an esport, when A, you can get paid to play it by somebody, and B, there are people that'll watch it. And I actually think that the definition of esports is super broad. Like, a lot of people think esport is like an LCS or OWL. Actually, if anything, like I think of like the LCS as like less of an esport, which is like a crazy thing to think about, but it's like 2022. And the LCS is like a franchise league. It's a business. It's like it's an enclosed business where like Riot Games is the end-all, be-all of that. Basically, it's a dictatorship. It doesn't really feel like an esport because it's not a community. It's just one company telling people what to do. Look at all of the rulings and stuff that come out where they can find anybody, they can do anything within their kind of ecosystem. It's sort of its own ecosystem. What I consider an esport like much more is like something like the fighting game community, for example, which is hosted on multiple different tournaments, can be played all over the place. What really differentiates, like what really makes LCS like an esport is the collegiate, actually, the community feel, like people that play it outside of like Riot's purview. And sometimes even companies have a problem with that. Like Smash didn't appear at EVO because Nintendo like wants to put it down. Blizzard puts down a lot of community-run tournaments. Funny enough, like it seems like publishers a lot of the time just want to do more to harm esports, but that's not than to actually help it. That's not your question. So, what should a game do to become an esport? I mean, that depends if you're a publisher or if you're like a viewer or whatever. You'd have to ask a more like a follow-up question. I'm gonna try really hard not to like Devin Nash all these answers and like 45-minute explanation because we can very easily do that. This is not a question, but says, because this could be a little bit weird because like we cleaned up this channel later, so this first video is gonna be kind of silly. It would be interesting to see a video about how you talk about how to capitalize and take advantage of a niche you found. How to branch out with remaining interesting niches you found. Yeah, that's a good idea. I'm going to write that down somewhere else. Let me see. As like a content idea. This is not a question. How to take advantage of a niche you found. Might be a Patreon video. I'd be interested in some videos. These are all video recommendations that talk about real analysis, marketing side of things, how content creators could practically implement those things. So I literally do this on my Patreon. Is this before I launched my Patreon? Oh my God. This is just a clip. Oh God, guys, this is struggling. Thoughts on TikTok algorithm? Yeah, we cover that on Patreon a lot. I think this is a question. We're getting warmer. We're a month ahead now. Nope. It's not. It's not a question. It's a thought. I promise this will get cleaned up later. Oh, God. This video is terrible. I'd love to see a video on Tim the Tapman and why he's positioned himself for long term. So we did that video. That's on the YouTube publicly. I think I actually did a video because that was recommended to me. Is this actually recording? It is. Okay. It's so weird, like, when you do YouTube videos versus being a live streamer. When you're a live streamer, you have such immediate feedback on, like, what your work is versus like YouTube, you have no idea like who's listening. It's very weird. It's like an answer. Topic suggestions would be YouTube membership system. I did a video on that. Oh yeah, I just don't think these are questions. Is Facebook harmful to teenagers? News that's been going around. Do platforms have a responsibility to consider users' mental health, or do creators? Oh, that's a good-ass question. Damn. I definitely think that platforms have a responsibility to consider user mental health. I don't think they do, generally. Platforms like Twitch allow gambling and other things that are massively destructive to users' mental health and financial health, and yet Twitch does nothing. This is why I stopped streaming, right? I basically stopped streaming because of like the gambling, Aiden Ross type meta, Andrew Tate type stuff that was just like taking over Twitch because Twitch doesn't take responsibility over its own platform. And I just don't want to be a part of it. Like I just like, God, like this sucks. Like if the upper, there's so much good on Twitch is the thing that I still like. You'll find me. The funny people always like whisper me, and they always tell me like, "Oh my God, like I didn't know you watch Twitch still, and like you're around." Yeah, like I watch like 600 viewer multiverse streams or 1,000 viewer Path of Exile streams, and I love it. It's like that's what I think Twitch is about. Is like the people exhibiting a skill or doing something with a good community, and like the back and forth of that live interaction. And I actually would love to stream on Twitch. I've thought about it a lot. Right, it's been about like a year or more now that I haven't streamed. I'd love to stream occasionally, but I just don't feel like the platform is for me. Like I would love to stream like when a meta issue pops up and I talk about it live and get people's feedback and stuff like that. There's definitely a medium for that. I would never stream consistently again. It's way too harmful on mental health. But I don't, because I just don't want to be associated with like the top echelon of creators. It sickens me. And I think that Twitch is like at the top heavy level of Twitch is just like very parasocial and very damaging to people's mental health. I don't think there's anything to do about it. I think that like it's not Twitch's responsibility to do that at a macro level, but I think it is their responsibility to like control obviously harmful behavior like gambling and stuff like that they've done nothing to prevent. The other part of this question is, do creators have an ethical responsibility? So the practical answer is no, right? Like I would say like one of the reasons I'm still friends with Trainwrecks TV, like I still talk to Tyler like offline, is because I don't hold him personally accountable for like the gambling meta on Twitch. Like I hold that to especially him, because I think he does as much work as somebody can do to let people know that it is not good for them to do, which is so many steps ahead of like what any other creator will do. Where most creators on Twitch right now are using fake money to gamble, and then they're staging their wins so that it looks like it's like this big thing, and they don't even tell their chat that, and they're super disingenuous to their community. And it's funny because I could do like one video that just added all these people with evidence, boom, right? Like, but that's it's not good. So, like, the practical answer is no. Creators don't have this responsibility. The platform does. Like, because the ethical argument is somebody is going to create that. Like, if there's a space for it, somebody's going to create there. Like, you get, let's just ban everybody today. Let's ban Aiden Ross. Let's ban Train. Let's ban Russell. Let's ban all those people. Well, in 2 days, there's going to that viewership is just going to find whoever else is willing to do it. So banning individual creators, punishing individual creators is not appropriate. You have to take a platform level stance. Says this is not okay. We see this is harming a lot of people. And so my position was, well, until we actually take that platform level stance, I'm out. I'm not going to deal with this. Like it's like at some point you can only vote with your feet, right? Like if you're at a point in your life where you're like, I can't change this myself, or I don't want to put the energy into it. Like to put the energy into it, I would have to take a position at Twitch at an executive level, like go push it through Amazon, spend 10 years doing it, right? Like that's like the level that I'd have to go through for me to personally change it. I don't want to do that. So if I'm not going to change it, well, either I'm okay with the status quo, and like most broadcasters are like, yeah, I don't like this, but I'm making $15,000 a month off the platform, so I'm not going to say anything. Or I am going to say anything, but I'm not going to actually do anything, right? Like they say stuff all the time, hot takes and clips and stuff like that. To actually take action is to say, well, I'm making $15,000 on the platform, and now I'm going to peace out. That's what I did, right? But that's not like, you don't get the W that way because nobody like remembers you. Like that's not like you get the W by making a clip about it, making a hot take, and then continuing on your way and earning money off of people parasocially. And so my argument is, personally, James, that because James is still on the server and talks a lot, maybe he'll benefit from this question. Somebody else will. My argument is that as an individual, you have a responsibility to hold as a creator that you have influence. That's why we call people influencers. And through that influence, you ought to try to bring good into the world. Now that's a highly personal. So I want to like be really clear when I say that. That is my own personal belief. Like I believe that I have a responsibility to bring good information into the world and not screw people over. And I think that every creator should have that responsibility. But I don't blame creators that don't. I understand why they don't. But I think they ought to. So I personally hold myself to that. I try to live by that. And that's why I do things like I'm not going to stream on Twitch anymore because I disagree with the policy and the direction that the platform is going. And I can't reasonably change it. So that's like, my thought process. And it's also why I don't make super clickbaity, like explosive videos where I like out people, I attack specific creators, and I have all the ammunition to do it. Like I think I'm one of the people that behind the scenes knows more about like what's really going on and like the Twitch and YouTube meta culture than anybody. Because I'm in the agency world doing their deals. Like I know how much money they make. I know where they make their money. And when you have control of the books, like you're a very powerful person. But I don't do that kind of stuff because although those attack videos would garner millions of views, would allow me to go back to Twitch to like 10,000 viewer audiences to wait to hear what I have to say, I would not be furthering the world or making anything better by doing that. I would be exacerbating the problem that I claim that I would try to stop. And the really crazy thing is that, I guess ironic thing is that it makes you more powerful to do that. It's so weird how, like, if you just go... If you stand on the platform of being like, I'm about true speech and I'm about being real and telling it like it is and things like that, and then you just go and do the absolute opposite thing, everybody champions you for it, right? There's no actual cost to it. It's crazy. It's just super crazy how that works. Okay. Let's see. What else we got going? Okay. I don't think this is a question. Or it's a discussion about the question. So eventually I had to remove this stuff because I couldn't... I couldn't actually like find out my questions. Everything was discussion. I'd be very interested in breaking down the stereotypical content of making a day in the life of Devin Nash. I have a video like this actually. It's called Impact. It's like it was a series I made, like 7 episodes long or so in CLG, where I hired a person to walk around and film me in doing the life of a CEO. It's actually pretty cool, and it's on the Devin Nash channel. You could like check it out. It has like 1,000 views. Nobody cared at that time. Nobody cared until I put on the mask. Generally now, my day is very much it's very on off. So I have periods of time where I'm really working super hard, and then I have periods of time where I'm not working at all, and I like that a lot. So I do a lot of space building exercises. Like I do hot yoga every other day. If I'm not doing hot yoga, I'm doing some kind of weight training or some kind of like really hard exercise, rowing for like 30 minutes pretty intensely, or running. And now that I live in Texas, running is a serious deal. This is 100 degrees every day. So I do something that's really intense. I meditate. I spend time with Jasmine, or any number of things like that, and eat good food, read books, listen to a lot of like nonfiction stuff, podcasts. I have to read a lot. It's one of the things kind of different about my work now. I have to read and be informed a lot. So I spend a lot of time being super informed on topics, and so I really do that a lot. So what's going on here with this filtering? Let's see if this is right. That's weird. Hold on a sec. Okay, that looks right. Okay, so a day in my life. I could do a video about it. It would be it's like I wake up, I do some form of exercise. I go to work. I do very deep work where I try really hard to eliminate distractions. I try really hard to eliminate social media, and I strictly focus on the things that I feel like I can contribute the most to. And then I end the day and I do some form of heavy exercise. That's like the hot yoga, stuff like that. And then I will spend time with my family, and then I'm out. Like I'm in bed. I don't believe in half work. There's some other questions here. It's like, when do you read stuff? I process a lot of news and like nonfiction stuff in what I call net time. Net time's like no extra time. So if I'm driving somewhere or if I'm walking, so I try to walk as many places as I can. So if I can walk a place, I'll listen to a podcast. I always listen to nonfiction. I try really hard not to waste my time. Like if I have, if I'm taking a shower or something, I'll put my phone in there. I'll listen to like a nonfiction podcast. And then I also prepare like specific lists of different kinds of content that I want to consume. But I think consumption is bad for the most part. Like consumption is something you should try to limit doing, and you should only consume things to the degree that you absolutely have to stay informed about like your relevant industry. You want to think about the concept of like producing versus consumption. So producing is when you're putting something out into the world, right? Like you're physically making something that people can like interact with. And so for example, like if you're like playing a video game, that's consuming. If you're shopping, that's consuming, right? Like literally consuming. If you're baking something, if you're cooking something, you're producing something. If you're writing, you're producing. If you're making a video, you're producing. If you're producing something, and you're putting something out into the world that like has like a marketable value, I try to focus on 80% of my life is producing and 20% is consumption. So I think about things in those terms, and I'm very careful about what I consume. I hate consuming stuff like Twitter and Reddit and things like that. I think if you sit back, just close your eyes and think about your experience of those platforms, it will be entirely negative. And you'll be like, why do I do this, right? You get to see him play PoE for 10 hours. And yeah, I have periods of time for sure. It's kind of a funny comment here. I have periods of time for sure where I just play video games. I love playing video games. I always will. I quit video games for like 3 or 4 years. I made a decision that I love them, and then I'm going to incorporate them as a part of my life forever. and I've been really happy with that. Yeah. Future video should be finding time to work on your business rather than in your business. Yes, sir. I think I have some videos about that in Patreon. It's crazy that Patreon has 70 videos now. I just can't believe I did 70 videos. On perspective, that's like God, it's like half of the videos that are on the total YouTube channel, right? There's like 200 something videos on the YouTube channel. I love the content, been following since the league days. Apparently not anymore. White name, rep. I'd like to hear your thoughts on companies that offer courses for streaming. And then you said I should do a YouTube video comparing the companies offering a service. I responded to this actually and just said, you should absolutely never, ever take a course. And that is 100% true. You should never spend money to take a course for streaming. Oh my God, never. Even if I made one. I think I'm, let me think about this for a second. No, it's correct. I'm the number one authority that could make a course on it. There's nobody who could do it better than me, and I won't do it because I know it's bullshit. There's so much that goes into it for live streaming that a course just can't help you with. Do you have a list of books that would recommend for further education on marketing? Anything by Dan Kennedy is good, particularly in the area that you're trying to master. Jay Abram for like traditional marketing concepts. Getting everything you can out of all you got is the best marketing book ever written. And then The Ultimate Sales Letter by Dan Kennedy is really good. Get started with those two. Are you still playing with Eve? This was a year ago, right? At that time I was. At this time I'm not, and I've decided that I'm going to indefinitely not play the game. I think that Pearl Abyss buying CCP was horrible. Basically what happened, for people that don't know, is a mobile game developer bought EVE Online. So the whole game is like insanely pay to win now, and it's just a nightmare. They've literally, everything that made EVE great, I think, is sort of a shadow of its former self, and only the players and some of the individual players like really keep it going. And unfortunately, the rest of it is just like trash. So I'll never play EVE again. And I also think my relationship with MMOs needs to change, that I can't like seriously dedicate myself to a massively multiplayer game just because of the goals that I have in the next 10 years. Just don't involve like... Also, I think that to some extent, like that time for me has been replaced by Path of Exile. That like Path of Exile is probably my favorite game of all time now. And about every 3 months, I'll jump into that. It takes enough time. Other than that, I play Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, so a bunch of Supercell games, and Brawl Stars. Actually, I play every Supercell game, actually, because Jasmine plays a lot of Brawl Stars. So I'll play those three, and then that's phone games. And then in gaming right now, I play Path of Exile pretty much almost exclusively. And then sometimes I'll jump on their game. Lately, I've been playing a lot of multiverses. Been following a bunch of sports channels to see how they make video essays. Many of them use professional photography from sporting events in their videos. This is expensive. Many channels just take pictures from Google and Twitter and are simply lucky they haven't been caught. There are services that most professional YouTube channels use that just like our stock photo or stock video. It's actually pretty easy. You just do a kind of Google search and just say stock video, stock photo for YouTube stuff. And you can sign up for a couple of services for like $20 a month and get endless amount of content on this, and you'll be okay. Or you could just be like me and just not edit your videos. Weird question I came up with about content creation. Oh my God. What is the question? Okay, God. I brought up entries. I can watch someone like Hassan all day. Most of his arguments make complete sense to me, but I watch you who might contradict him in some aspects that'll also make sense to me. The question is, as we as normal people who don't have a college degree in political science or CEO or all these topics are able to form our own opinion about certain topics without taking our own deep dive, and I mean like a year-long dive, not 20 minutes Googling into it, does this explain why a lot of people who don't even bother to listen to both sides are easily manipulated into one? Is it weird that I feel dumb for daily changing my opinion based on who I listened to last? Yeah, so the answer, this is a good question. So the answer is, if you actually want to become an expert on something, it does require multiple years. And the other thing too is that, and what a lot of people don't realize is like, people consider becoming an expert and then like you're an expert. And now that you're an expert, you're an expert and that's your title. But that's not true. Like if you want to be an expert on something, particularly something that's like evolving very fast, like social media, you have to stay in it. Like, so I read hours every day. Like I said, about 20% of my time is just like deliberately reading shit. And actually, if you subscribe to the Patreon, you can look at what I read. Like every week, I put it out. Right, it's something like 40 or 50 articles, multiple videos, and it's not like bullshit stuff. It's like really deep into it. So to become an expert and to stay an expert on something, you really have to try. So to use the Hassan Abi example, right, the Twitch streamer, you know, first of all, Hassan's like a kind of a weird example because he's an opinion broadcaster, right? So he's like got a very clear agenda that he doesn't hide. So if you agree with that agenda and you agree with like that direction, then that's like, you know, you watch him for that. I would probably not rely on someone like that's opinion of like a particular issue, like unless it's related to like maybe his expertise. So like, for example, like he probably knows a lot about news. He probably knows a lot about how media companies operate, things like that. So everybody's an expert in their own field. The problem is that a lot of these people like on the internet start talking about shit that they're not experts in. And so you'll get like an XQC take on how to grow as a broadcaster, right? When his anecdotal experience of growing as a broadcaster is completely foreign to what anybody else will do. Or you'll get an XQC take on something like finances, like some crazy shit, right? Like how to eat healthy. This is a person who has no business telling you this, right? He absolutely knows nothing about that. So I think the problem is that we glorify a lot of these experts and then we feel like their knowledge can transfer into other things, but they don't. they don't have that kind of experience. Sometimes you get people who have a background in it. So for example, like to use the Hassan example again, I might trust some of the things he says about fitness because he has a fitness background. He has shown that he can go through that and that he can train, and he has that experience. You might look at me or something like that and say, okay, that's a marketing guy. But if you actually look into my past, you'll know that I was a PT. I trained hundreds of people, and I have a huge background in health and fitness, right? Like I've done an absolute ton of work on it. And so I'm a good authority on that as well. But if you approach me about something like engineering or building a car, I don't know the first thing about it, right? I couldn't tell you, but I could form an opinion on it. Like, yeah, Teslas suck. I don't know, but if I say it confidently enough, then yeah, I could easily manipulate people into it. Yeah, be careful about that. I think when you ask the question, is it weird that I feel dumb about changing my opinion based on who I listened to last? I think that the focus, I think so this guy is interesting. I have a little bit of context into him because he used to be in my Twitch chat a lot. Now he's left the server, so I assume he's more of like a live stream person. So it kind of applies to people who consume a lot of Twitch because I still see people like this on my Discord. I think that's where you actually have to step back and be like, damn, I'm so parasocial that I'm spending a lot of time like listening and interacting to these people. And I'm not myself. I'm not like my own person. Like I'm not defining my own thing, right? You're consuming all the time. So because you're not producing anything, you're not putting anything out into the world. Of course, you have no opinions of your own because you're not like instead of watching. So I would never watch an individual Twitch streamer or YouTuber for their opinion, right? That's why I try not to make opinionated things. Sometimes I do, but they're usually opinionated things that are backed with like expertise, right? So for example, like my opinion on where TikTok is going as a platform, right, is fair because have a lot of experience with it and I'm trying to provide value ahead, educational value ahead, for example. But like true opinion stuff like this sucks, this is whatever, try to avoid and instead listen to discussions. So you could listen to a discussion between two people like Joe Rogan and some expert, right? That'd be interesting where you can like form your own opinion based on two opposing sides. That's a much healthier way to consume if you have to, because otherwise your situation is like you're just like listening to people all day and you have no time to be your own human being. Any thoughts and suggestions on how to properly market on secondary social media websites? I talk about this a ton on Patreon. There's probably like a bazillion videos about it. I think it's too broad a question to tackle here. How do you set up and run your own tournaments and go about contacting players and teams who'd like to compete? Also a super broad question. Um, do I want to answer that? It's like, it takes so much work. It's super odd. It just depends on, like, are you at a school? Or what level of tournament are you trying to run? Is it like a $100,000 Evo tournament, or like a $5,000 or like a $500 local tournament? I just don't. It's just too broad. Take like 2 bazillion years to answer that question. Is a lot of the parasocial issues on Twitch coming from what I see most of Twitch's users lack of personal responsibility for determining what oneself is true? A lot of comments on Twitch are fed up with lies and deception, calling content scripted, set up, or not real. In a way, they're demanding what other people are as truthful. Look at all the hate with Arcadum, Aiden Ross. A lot of the hate coming out from Twitch leaks. Kind of a funny topic to bring to a marketer. Yeah, for sure. So let me drop some super hot takes, okay, on Twitch. Just now that I've been in the sauce, and now I'm out of the sauce, and I'm running the sauce on the back end. The entirety of Twitch, in a very Zen sense, is a complete illusion. It is fake as hell. There's nobody real on the platform, because the act of becoming popular, that what you need to do to become popular is you have to embody a certain person. You have to become a certain thing in order to gain that followership. And that certain thing is the antithesis of real. So in order to become popular, you have to be someone that is larger than life, that is more than, because nobody wants to watch like just like a normal dude, like nobody wants to watch yourself. Like most people are watching to escape the reality of like working every day, put like family issues, putting things on the table, just like what life is. So by definition, Twitch isn't what life is, right? How many channels are there out there where you can go and you can see what like a daily life is? There are a few that actually like a guy that runs a store or something, but those are not successful channels. The successful channel, if you look at like IRL, it's like, look at like what's going on. Here's a good example with like OTK right now. In the current time that this video is being recorded, there's a thing going on that's like a strength camp. So here's what's happening. 4 nerds are going into the gym, and a super professional bodybuilder flies from Norway or Sweden or wherever the hell he's from, and gives them daily education and getting super jacked in a gym with tons of cameras, working out every day. None of that is life. Life is you wake up, you are like, fuck, I've got to go to work, I'm barely making ends meet, and I've got to get to the gym because I want to better myself. And you push through that. You take the discipline, you take the motivation, and you get there and you get to the gym, you have your workout. That's life. No cameras on you, no bodybuilder there to fix your shit up. That's all your responsibility. Nobody wants to hear that, right? So what they want to do is they want to go, 60,000 people, 70,000 people want to go watch that version of themselves because they are that nerd. They're identifying with that nerd. Become that person trained by those people, and that's Twitch. That's Twitch. Twitch is a literally a fake reality. It's like nothing that you watch on there is even remotely real, and yet we champion people, these people that they are real. They're not. Like there's nothing going on there, that's what creates that parasocial link, right? None of this is it's so hard to explain, because if you're watching that kind of content all the time, you're like in a certain mindset. It's like really hard to see like what real life is. It's kind of like what happened with like Will Smith, where like when he slapped Chris Rock, he did so because like in his reality, he's this like driving around in limos all the time. He's like a movie star. Everybody like worships him. He literally just like did that because he thought he was in a movie. Like he just thought that like real life was like a movie and he could do that. Everybody would stand up and clap and everything, and he'd take his bow. Like that's literally what he was thinking at the time, right? Like you see why? Because that level of celebrity ism breeds narcissism. It makes narcissism a necessity. You have to be focused on yourself to talk about yourself all the fucking time. So everybody on Twitch that gets to the level of being a 20,000, 30,000 viewer broadcaster, bar none, is a narcissist, an extreme narcissist. There is absolutely no exception to this rule. None. They're all extreme narcissists, right? All they can talk about is themselves. All they care about is their own issues, and all they can see is the circle of their own community inside themselves. And how can you blame them for it? Because literally they just exist in an ecosystem where everybody gasses them up all the time or hates on them, which either one which reinforces their view of the world. So it's impossible for them to like be like, oh shit, there's like people, they know it they know it tangentially. Like there's people like that are getting up and going to the gym every day, or there's people that are like working really hard, or the world's going into an economic recession and things like that. But they have absolutely no empathy towards it because they don't live in that reality. Their reality is a completely different thing. So the viewers that are get associated with this, they go absorb that reality, and they become a part of it, and then it becomes easy for them to like be swayed into these kind of like thought circles because, as I mentioned before, they don't have any mind of their own. It's unfortunate how many people like, and we know this, but like how many people like really don't think for themselves, and they think that the way to think for themselves is to go like listen to other people, but it's not. It's to consume objective information and then make your own opinions about it, and to become an expert in things so that you can make your own opinions about things. No one wants to spend the time though to do that. Like, if you're really good at something, like I'm really good at marketing and social media, it's easier to just like kind of like browse over that topic and like get that dopamine fix than it is to like actually become a real expert. So people don't want to actually put in the work and do it. So I guess like all of this kind of made me realize why Twitch is like incredibly fucked and unsavable. And also as a platform will never really appeal to anybody outside of like the niche that it appeals to, right? Like, because reasonable working people that like actually have responsibility of some kind and accountability will not be on Twitch for long. Not as streamers, I mean as viewers. And this is actually something that I saw. I had an opportunity to look at some demographic data on Twitch that was way more specific than Twitch has. So for those of you that don't know, Twitch doesn't collect very good demographic data. So like if you're a streamer, you go into your dashboard, you try to see like who's watching you and like what's their age or like what's their like what do they buy, stuff like that. You can't do it. They're not like Facebook or Google or things like that. Twitch doesn't collect this kind of information on people. But if you're a sponsor and you're putting a lot of money into Twitch and you do spend that kind of money, and then you convert those exclusively Twitch viewers off to another website where you do collect that information. I had the opportunity to work with somebody on a multi-million-dollar level that collected that information. And I found out a shit ton about Twitch viewers that was really interesting. It's about like 8 or 9 months ago. And they generally have very low income. They trend super degenerate. They're playing video games in their mom's house. Like that's like, and like consuming this shit. Like there are not a lot of highly successful people that are watching Twitch or people that are individually highly successful. Most people are watching for very long amounts of time and upwards of 150 minutes or more per day. A lot of times 4 to 6 hours per day. And they're not doing much. Like they're not like really producing much. And I think that that's sort of like the cycle that Twitch is going to be in. Is going to attract those kind of power users. And then people that like have real responsibility will just sort of see the platform for what it is. In the same way that those same people will not watch like the ridiculous side of YouTube that does that sort of stuff. And that'll be that. And like people will kind of find their way out of the platform as they age up. And like that's why Twitch will never like become like a YouTube type mainstream type thing. There's no way. Yeah. Okay. So it is an interesting topic. Some stuff on videos. What point is your career acceptable to go variety streaming? How much is too variety? I built my community around my main game for 7 years of old school RuneScape. Oh man. That's a whole thing. I feel like in live streaming, how long are we in this video? It's 40 minutes. Yeah, I'll stay on the topic of live stream because some of the questions after this are not live streaming questions. So we'll just do a 40-minute video, call it good. So these questions and a little bit more. So streaming a main game for 7 years, you'd have to do a secondary YouTube channel, and you'd have to start doing variety content on that and attract that kind of viewer base. If you switch out of a main game to a variety, you're going to lose 90% of your viewership and subs. Speaking from experience, because in 2013 or so, I had like 2.5 to 3,000 viewers playing League of Legends. And then I switched overnight to just playing variety, because if I played another game of League of Legends, I would have literally, it would have been a bad time. So I switched, and then I lost 90% of my subs and viewership, and it turned out fine because I kept trying to succeed and find a niche. So you have two choices really. One is you can stream your game for 80% of your stream, and then the final 20% you say, hey, we're going to switch to another game. The net one is that the correct answer, though, is that you build a whole new content direction starting from the bottom on YouTube with variety gaming content, and you make it interesting. Most people are not willing to do that, so they stay on their core games. And if you look at most of the people that are streaming on Twitch that have played one game, most of them are still playing that game or they're dead. So it's kind of the direction it goes. Most people don't want to build a whole new brand from the ground up. That's what it takes, because like you've attracted that certain group of users. And look, if you transfer this over to any other business that made sense, okay? Like, let's say you're a restaurant and you sell great American barbecue, and everybody comes for your barbecue, right? And you're doing really great. And then the next day you say, actually, we're revamping. This is a shabu shabu place, right? So some customers will continue to come. Oh, I dig shabu shabu, and I like what you did. I'll show up. Most of them won't. Right? Most of them will be like, okay, well, I was here for barbecue. When I felt like barbecue, I'll go somewhere else. You have to build a whole new user base. So it makes sense if you just transferred over to another business. For some reason, streamers think that like that's different. It's not. Like when you attract a certain demographic or user. If I started making videos about like, actually my secret passion in life is I like to dress up as a clown and join the circus. Here are the 7 biggest tips I have for putting on your clown makeup. Nobody's going to fucking watch that. Right? I've built my entire brand on being a expert marketer and expert social media and business guy. That's it. So like, if I don't like that someday, well, I better figure out some shit pretty fast. Right. And if I want to be like a pro surfer now, my secret passion is like getting the best tubes and going on the waves, then I've got to build that from the ground up. And I've got to start with my YouTube channel, Devin Nash Surfs, very first surfing video, how to choose your right board. 200 videos later, I might be somewhere. People don't want that answer, right? They want to think about they want it to be easy. They want to transition their audience, right? But just think about it like the restaurant example, okay? So I gave you option number 1, which is 80% of the time you serve barbecue, and then the last 2 hours while your customer's there, you say, we're transferring over to our shabu shabu. And maybe you get those barbecue people to experience the shabu shabu and they like that. But more than likely, you have to start another restaurant and let your barbecue business do great. But the problem is, and this goes back to like where I want to close this out in the live streaming thing. See, the problem with live streaming is that it's taking your time one-to-one no matter what you do. And once I identified this, I stopped live streaming, because you can never increase the number of hours you have in the day, no matter what, right? I don't care if you're a billionaire. I don't care if you are the president of Mars. You can't increase your individual 24 hours that you get. So 1 hour of streaming is 1 hour of streaming. You might make $20,000 doing that 1 hour of streaming, but 1 hour of streaming is 1 hour of streaming. You can never, ever scale or leverage that time. So because of that, you can't do something like, okay, I've got a barbecue business. I really want to start a shabu shabu business. I'm going to use the profits of my barbecue business, keep it running, hire a manager, and then I'm going to go build a shabu shabu place that I really like. So I feel like streaming as a whole, not just because of like the parasocial issues that I mentioned before, that streaming as a whole is just generally a bad business decision Like it's generally something that you think is a good idea because you're sub 30 and you're not realizing that like you're going to have to build a skill set that stands the test of time because goddamn, you are not going to want to do this forever. Nobody is, right? And I've already done enough YouTube videos about like, here's the likelihood that you're going to be XQC, right? And so you're spinning the lotto ticket to try to win big, but your only out is like, I'm going to stream to make enough money until and one thing's going to break first. Either I'm going to have enough to retire or I'm going to go mentally insane. That is such a weird trade to make to me, right? Like, it's like, I'm going to do this until I can't do it anymore and hopefully I'll have enough money. But from the age of 20 to 27, when I live streamed, I built no marketable skills. Now I'm 7 years ahead while people went to college, built skills, built job experience, and I'm trying to compete on their level. And the untold story is that there are so many hundreds of thousands of broadcasters, literally hundreds of thousands, that are doing that now, that have spent 4 years trying to grow a 15-viewer channel and are now 4 years behind all of their peers, right? That is such a bad scenario for a lot of people that they're in. But we don't talk about them because they don't get the views, you know? So yeah, like, I just think that streaming, it's so interesting that, like, people think of streaming as a career. A career is something that you can do a long time and that you can transfer into other things. Like, to some extent, if you're a live streamer, you can like transfer, like maybe you can become like a community manager or like a techie person for like a production company. Like there's some like transference for some people, but yeah, the business is just weird. I can't believe in 2022 that there are still people that do not make YouTube videos that live stream. It's crazy to me. It's literally crazy to me. Okay. So we talked about Twitch in this video a lot. So I think it's a good place to leave it for this video. And I'll answer more questions. We got 2 months. We did 2 months of stuff, and then we're gonna start at 11:05 when I do another one of these. Try to do one at least once a week. And then once we catch up, I'll live stream it on YouTube. Maybe. No promises. So, TLDR, this is fun. I'm glad people want to ask questions. And I'll answer more. If you want to keep asking them, I'll keep making these. Thank you, everyone. Let me know what you think. That's it.